you to do that over again. How you put the first fruits and all that together, because we were just talking about that yesterday in another totally different group. They had a scripture that seemed to say that they were running together. So I'd love to hear yours again on that.
Leviticus 23. Actually, I talked about this in the So What video of 2006, and I've talked about it numerous other times with the Mishkan pattern. I'm happy to go over it again. I'm making a point here because it's all about the pattern. Part 2, which is part 12, I believe it is now, of the series. This is only a test. So we were just saying, well, yeah, but I might be wrong. No, I don't believe I'm wrong at all. Anybody can suspect me of being wrong, which is okay, that's on you, but because of Leviticus 23, where it talks about the Moedim, I can show you why I came to this determination about Shavuot being one 50-day festival, not two, thus dropping Shemini Atzeret. If Shavuot is one 50-day festival, then Sukkot's only number 6, Shemini Atzeret's number 7. It's all in Leviticus 23, we'll get to that. But I'm going to go on now, reading through Proverbs 8. The first word, shining brilliance. The next word, chachma, wisdom. And I'm saying if you look at chachma as just wisdom, okay, but if you look at chachma, and this is critical for the entire rest of the chapter, which is why I'm belaboring this point on verse 1. Chet, kaf, mem, hey, expressed. Chet, kaf, mem. Choose life, learn the Torah, tend your heart. That's wisdom. Chet, kaf, mem. Learn the Torah. No, choose life. Moshe said, I put before you life and death. There's the Zion, there's death. Outside the fence, here's the Chet, big white fence, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Yahuwah, light and life. Outside is death and darkness. In the fence, in the pasture, in his castle, in his kingdom, with his name, blue, purple, red, white linen, Yod He Vav He, the kingdom of Yod He Vav He. As opposed to darkness and death, the place of the skull, Gal Gata, Gal, skull. Yeshua being put to the weapon. I'm trying to show you this. If you understand the distinction of the pattern, 4 or 5 weeks ago where I had the black shirt, that was like out in the darkness of like what you're hearing, all this stuff. You don't know what makes sense of anything. And all of a sudden inside, blue, purple, red, white with gold thread. And this week I'm trying to talk about the gold thread. Sitting in front of this pattern with these gold threads of green pasture land and saying it's a whole different thing. Choose your path. Now this is the path. This is the path of wisdom. And this is what wisdom says. The very next thing it says is learn to read. Now it'll say wisdom calls out. Kuf Resh Aleph is to call. Kuf Resh Aleph also means learn how to read Hebrew. Then there's the word tabanit, which is the word pattern. And this is a derivative word that literally tells us there's a pattern. There's a pattern which expresses, that's understanding, precious, rare, teach the gift, her voice. I could look at Proverbs 8:1 and says it's exactly what we're trying to do with this platform here, this Skype call, this Erictology thing is exactly Proverbs 8 verse 1. And whether somebody likes it or not, or has a disagreement or not, or is still pondering or not, go ahead, ponder, think, discuss, argue, disagree. That's all good because it means you're thinking, you're considering his stuff. So Malachi 3:16. Then those who had a yirah, a fear of Yahweh, got together and talked amongst themselves, engaged in, what's this? Is it up, down, sideways? What are we doing here? Which is the right calendar? What does this word mean? And Yahweh said, they're talking about my Shem. His name, what's that got to do with it? Because the word Shem is not just name, how do you pronounce the 4 letters, but it's fame, renown, reputation, and the occupation of all his concerns, which are the Moedim, which is the Sabbath day, which is his name, which is these 22 letters. It's all this stuff. And whatever path we find ourselves on, whatever conflict we find ourselves in, to engage his stuff is this stuff of contemplating his name, his Shem, Malachi 3:16. Learn to read. There's a pattern which expresses that understanding. So for me to belabor the pattern, the Mishkan pattern, it's all about the pattern, is because it says so right here in Proverbs 8:1. But you wouldn't know that if you don't know how to read the Hebrew words that mention that this is a pattern of understanding. And if it's chakma, that's essentially the pattern of understanding, then wisdom is the application of this pattern of understanding. And I'm saying that because I can read Proverbs 8 1,000 times and going, but what is the wisdom? He said, if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask. Give us, Yahuwah, give us your chakma, your wisdom. And with all your wisdom, get understanding. And give us understanding too. Yes. And for dessert, let's have some da'at, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. These three go together. We'll get into that. Now I'm going to read verse 2. In the very beginning, at the highest of heights, exalted, surpassing, spiraling you upwards. I remember once I was sitting out there and eating a sandwich or something, and there was a little piece of meat dropped on the ground, or this little yellow jacket bee, and I know they're called meat bees, and I took a little piece and I put it there, and they've got these, they're not pinchers, they're almost like these little things in their mouth, they're like saws, and he sawed and cut off this chunk of meat, but it was too heavy for him to fly. And I noticed that this bee, this was years ago, he didn't fly straight up. He didn't fly, like an airplane taking off. He started going in circles. And it's like, boy, this guy can't get any lift. I was just looking at it with some kind of wonder. And he had this one circle, then another spiral, another circle, then another one. And each one, he got a little bit more elevation. And I thought, this is really weird. This guy's doing this on purpose. It was such a heavy load. The way for him to get elevation was to do these spiraling circles, and pretty soon he got enough speed and then he was able to take off. And it's like, this was all calculated and engineered. This wasn't any accident. That's the same word here. Dalet Resh is generation. It's your turn in the circle, but it's this your turn coming around. It's like everybody takes their turn. It's our turn to now engage these matters. And that's built in at the very beginning. The domestic path, way of training, the notion of an established route, a navigable pilotage, trackable and unmovable. Well, what this is saying is that before there was a universe, before there was a word of John 1:1, before there was anything of any substance, of any regard, before there was electrons and protons or electromagnetic energy, before there was time that you could say before, Elohim created or established or thought, pondered, and built this thing called Chakma. Verse 3, placed as a monument. Now this thing is established, kind of like the Tower of Babel. The only thing on the horizon, this thing that can't be moved, like the Pyramid of Egypt or something. Placed as a monument with the potential to be measured, analyzed, determined, unmovable by any storm, in order to know, according to my mouth, what is valuable, precious, to determine the cleaving between what is acceptable versus rebellion. Accordingly, what is provided as fixed and sure is that the meaning of words is the mast, the flagpole, the tree of life, the liberty bell. And I say that because of one of the meanings of the words, the drawn sword of Excalibur. Starting as petroglyphs, becoming lost, obscure, a stormy tempest, tumultuous, like in the dark, in the fog, blind to meaning, then regaining of sight, untied, open wide, a man who frees himself from a bondage, expounding speech, eloquence, paisati. Life must be birthed. The baby must be birthed through the birth canal. It's built into the system. Developed in the crypt of womb, seized by shouts of joy. It's a picture of the resurrection of Yahusha from the grave. Fractal pattern is built into this chakma, which is tied and keyed and correlated very specifically to the progression of the meaning of the letters, of the 22 letters of the alphabet in Hebrew. Verse 4, towards me, you all, I am for you. What's mine is yours. Mankind, Ishim, really, I will teach you to read. So is my voice toward B'nai Adam. This language, this alphabet, is not a construct of human consciousness, human understanding, human trying to spell the names of animals, though that was Adam's first job. This is otherworldly, you might say. And the interesting thing, when it says it's my voice is towards B'nai Adam, the son of man, the children of men. This isn't for the space aliens, the reptilians, the Nephilim, the infidels. This is for those who want to be similar to Yahweh. B'nai is not only children, but it's to be constructed. It's to be built. It's to have understanding. It's to be in between, hooking this to this, like meta. It's that which connects. It's the vav, linking the similarity of Adam to Elohim. Yahweh's Avot, the Elohim of Israel. See, the more you know about the language, the more all these things can come together. Verse 5, just give it regard. Suddenly, wham, understanding opens. Frightfully, bare, uncovered, exposed. The simplest of people who lack understanding will have their heart escalated, modulating upwards, like each turn of that bee carrying its, what it had cut off there, it's that piece of meat is its payload, modulating upwards to the highest of esteem, praise, glory, a trilled voice, curled hair, crepe, finesse, to go from one who feels that he is at a loss compared to everybody else. What's my life? Why am I here? I've amounted to not much, if not nothing. This language is what will escalate you if you make that payload your burden, your Ayin Nun Hey, to take his stuff and his language, his words. It's what pulls us up to the peak. I didn't make this up. This is right here in these words. I can't see it in English, though I'm trying to put it in English. Verse 6, hear it, believe it, engage it in action. Whoever speaks opposing, contradicting me, won't open my language. The key which opens my lips, straight, right, smooth, accurate, correct, the plowshare, some zakar of Yahweh, opens me to one in covenant with me. If it's a contrast to what I speak, that's a clue. It's not my mouth speaking, even though it sounds poetic. Hence the struggle with Galatians chapter 3, which started this whole thing off. Verse 7, thus, for so is truth, the branding logo. Navigate, helmsman, steer by the spelling of words. Expect that I have protected my own hand, my Torah, within my castle, my garden, the pasturage for my sheep. The entangled confusion will become clear, obvious. Iniquity will be seen as different, as smooth versus thorns. My language is flowing honey. Verse 8, verbatim as is, perfectly useful, fit to accomplish victory via righteousness. Each and every, anything declared by my mouth has nothing in them crooked, twisted, struggled, or tricky, devious, distorted, insidious, nothing fatal trying to catch you unawares. Verse 9, all of them stand up front, powerful, cocky, sure, built to be understood, straight up, rightly, specifically for the sake of finding knowledge. And by that, it validates that what exports from my pool, the noon jumping out of Mem, is Dalet Tav. Then the picture of the ion, the eyeball, like a pool with something in it, like the pasturage with the safe sheep in it, like the garden with the tree of life in it. There's all these different motifs. True, fruitful, sure, valid, established, secure. Well, in light of that, why, this is my questioning, why should there be any reason to do away with them? Why should these things be nailed to the cross and done away with? Makes me suspect of that whole ideology. Verse 10, seize hold of my instruction, grab with all your might, own it, or be owned by my discipline, my correction of your ways, chastisement, as if it were silver, as if you craved and desired it longingly, you were needy for it. Knowledge is gold, acquired proactively, diligently, industriously. Tomorrow's glory is at the cost of today's training. It's a pointed effort as an athlete, as a warrior, a musician. Select, make your choice, invest. Verse 11, my own hand raised and promised, kafiot, for goodness and welfare. Chakma turns the tables, expected. Though in my sense of trying to find my bearing in this world, in this universe, I'm alone at the helm. There's no parent, there's no teacher, there's no companion, there's no visible assist, navigating stars of eternity, a sea of space. I'm trying to express a certain feeling if you get into this zone where you can just like, whoa, what am I in this universe? It's a matter of a poetic art. Chakma is an invisible hand pushing mine on the helm of navigation, like this, like that. Turning away, turning to, because Chakma is the map steering me. Of any possible desire, if any delight were offered to me, even every pleasure has no comparison here of Chakma. There's no measurable proportion. Verse 12, I am Chakma. I dwell with prudence, the word orma. Actually, I'm housed with shrewd, cunning, vigilance, attentive circumspection, which is orma. So do I dwell with prudence, or is prudence my dwelling where I'm in? In other words, is wisdom hidden under the appearance of this other matter? And da'at, knowledge, is my tool, my instrument, my axe, my weapon, my can opener. That has a strange thing. Remember this Sophia, this wisdom. It's like, oh, Yahweh's consort, or Chakma, this woman says, want to see me naked? Oh, hey, come on, man, this is a family show. Want to see me naked? Flirt with evil, purpose falsehood, devise wicked schemes. I'll reveal myself, mother of sorrows. You'll find your bearings real quick. Encounter my Zadi as a weapon, Aleph right at you. It'd be sufficient, delivered right to your door of understanding at just the right time. In other words, it's like, what is this? What is this Chakma? I mean, this is the language that it speaks with. Verse 13, Yara Yahweh, fear Yahweh. He has a different way to exhibit. Variance. Genius thoughts, instructing triumphant enthusiasm for all of our success versus evil, boasting, intending harm, devious misfortune to one's fellow, crushing him. Variance posed as blatant opposition. Intentionally, by design, evil changes me. There's something about this tree, the knowledge of good and evil. There's this variance, there's this opposition, which is Yahweh's way of doing things. The word teeth against each other, shana, is a word used here. So what I'm saying is that as you try to understand this language and learning how Yahweh has expressed himself, you see that certain things are his way of doing art. There's a difference between Rembrandt and Monet and Picasso. They have a different style of art. What is Yahweh's style of art? It's this stuff. Evil changes me. Perverted, overturned, done away with. It's differently. Shin Nun Aleph, that's the teeth of change. Shanati, Shin Nun Aleph Tav Yod. Shanati ain't me. Shanati ain't me. Shanati's Hebrew, ain't me is English. What I'm saying is that this is what he's given us. This is who he is. In the dark, this is Yahweh, blue. This is his Torah, purple. This is his Messiah as a man struggling to work this out. And this is the white, the robes of righteousness. And if it's not these four voices, echad, it's not me. So then we have to go back and say, well, then what am I confused by? I'm confused because I don't understand him. Okay, verse 14. My realm, my jurisdiction, those who are mine, take counsel, open eyes. It looks like, this wisdom looks like insight, orientation, philosophy, advice, resourcefulness, maybe even metaphysics. And I notice some that's a bad word, like Kabbalah. Wait a minute. Is it bad? Is it occult? Is it sorcery? Is it just this other way of seeing how he built the universe? This is the word that's used as Ayin Zadi. I am what I give. My tushi, we're talking, wait a minute. Tav Vav Shin Yod, hey, tushiya. My tushi is my gift of Nun Shin Aleph, Tav Shin Shin. This gift of conducting the weak, feeble, dried up to safety, salvation, rejoicing venerably and old, the word Yod Shin Nun. And again, you have to look at other spellings of other words with similar letters to try to build this concept. It's just the task of what this is. So you won't necessarily see this if you're trying to read the English definition words from the Hebrew. There's other things built into this, just so you know. Understanding is mine. I am understanding. Understanding is the central character, champion of the world, elevated above valor, courage, might, or strength. An ignorant, illiterate, uncultivated fellow can choose to be of understanding, can examine the way of wisdom. By me, verse 15, kings reign, princes rule. The secret advice I give to legislators is decree righteousness. Verse 16, by me, princes rule, patronize noble deeds. Singers and poets solemnize trouble into beauty. A string of pearls to be celebrated. Inciting, impelling citizenry to generous valiantry, virtuous chivalry, righteous gallantry. Verse 17, I am the quintessential lover. I am what lover refers to. My essence is love-giving. I am the source. Now you have to understand the letters here. Nooning my aleph. The aleph is the intent. Nooning, making it this real thing in action. The bet of aleph, or the manifestation of the inner hidden, is Haid, expressed by whoever seeks me eagerly. I cause myself to be found by the qualified. And the word for qualified there has to do with the word shachar, shin chet resh, which means wake up early, go out, seek diligently, like what the women did when Yeshua rose from the grave. That whole description is the definition of the word shachar, shin chet resh, which is the qualified that he will allow himself to be found by. What I do is where love gets its meaning. My noon multiplies when it zadis. The one birth, remember Yeshua said, if a kernel of wheat stays alone, it'll just be alone, but if it dies, it'll turn into this abundant corn, this cornucopia, this proliferation, that's zodying. It's a fractal seed model. He was put to the weapon so that he could zadi, which is also a weapon. Mentioning back to that series we did, why did we have to die? Verse 18, wealth and honor, my aleph tav is loaded like a catapult. Whatever it takes, all that is necessary to effect a victory, to win, proceeding with excellence, restoring the durable, valuable best. My aleph tav is loaded like a catapult. You engage this and like launching a rocket. Verse 19, good. The fruit today will feed you tomorrow. Not just running, dancing pizzazz, gold and pure gold, imported as if it were silver. And that word silver means desiring. So what's more, I will throw the best of all that could ever be desired. It's like not just these Tupperware bowls, but ginseng knives. Oh, we're going to throw that into the mix, like one of those infomercial ads. Verse 20, when the mode of conduct is a righteous one, the way of life is fair, equal, balanced scales of justice. I will overshadow you with protection. I will illuminate your path. This is like a GPS guidance system before we ever had these cell phones telling you where you were and what's in front of you. I will run interference ahead of you at the crossroads of conflict. I will smooth and polish all the rough. Remove barnacles from your ship's hull. How? Justice and righteousness must be your only tactic. That's our application of what wisdom is telling us. The only two tools in your belt is justice and righteousness. That's it. Verse 21, imagine what benefit might possibly derive if my ability to give was as abundant as the flowery words of poetry seem to describe. As a matter of fact, it's as a military assault from a swarm of angry hornets. My love has teeth, resources beyond measure. I fulfill my speech as a torrent, as a tsunami, as all the forces of the empire were geared to accommodate the accomplishment of my slightest utterance. 22, ever since the beginning, before the beginning, the first idea, the causal force, the sustaining vitality, and there's a word there spelled differently but pronounced the paleo. Yahweh invented, embraced, assimilated my essence as his own. I am the tool in his hand. I am the beat of his heart. 23, forever a deep well, unexpendable. For them, I pour out, listening, seeking, high and low, for one who would bow his head in volitional desire to be similar to me, to seek my favor, ever since the most ancient of earth. 24, at a time when death was not even a concept yet, I was whirling, dancing, happening, when there was no other consideration, nothing of definition, no substance, only energy. My value, prestige, worth was established as the basis for all else, upon which all else develops. Exception of water, the polar opposite of plasma fire, the concept of opposition. 25, high, low, above, under, forth and back, barren, pregnant. There's nothing, and then it kicks in. Bewildered, enthralled. Ideas just happen. It comes to you right in the face of the obstacle. There's a bulb, like a block, and the bulb turns into a blossom of a flower. I whirl, I dance, I begin to play. Verse 26. No, comrade, I alone, I produce what I desire. I run, I cause to happen. My only limitation is my own volition. My head is on fire with ideas of outrageous performances. What can be done with a handful of dust? Boiling water. Create a stage. Cover myself with dust. Become an actor on the stage. Foolish or genius? A violation of natural order. Spicy seasoning. It's the word tav bet lamed. Verse 27, aligned for guidance, for direction, Shemayim, heavens, placed for our tuning in, aiming. I am what regulates their accuracy. Their prescribed bearing is because of me. It's my face looking down, encompassing their every detail, every matter considered with purpose. 28, with gusto, hilarious laughter, the ultimate sport, to jump from the highest to the lowest, from strength to weakness, from life to death, unquenchable fire extinguished by water, swim in the water, own the water, be the water, conquer every domain I can imagine, create a monster too big for me, fight the monster, let the monster kill me, the monster will eat me, conquer the monster from within it, take over the monster, I am the monster now. Can I make a monster that's too monstrous, that I couldn't defeat it? This is wisdom, this is Yahweh's pondering. I am warrior, this is my game. Verse 29, as placed, designed and built. It is what it is. The water can only behave as commanded. The limits of its expanse, the dynamics of its being, it's contained, regulated, hampered by my determination. My desire is its harness. As I delight, it is placed and performs. I express myself, yeah, and it is. What exists is my wildest dream, appearing as simply matter of fact, every bit fit with form and function, every exacting specifics. My being delights constantly, continually, every moment of time. I am thrilled. This project to me is so incredible, but yet constrained by time. At the end of time, now that's going to be something else to smile about. 31. This maneuver of making the universe and then invading their space, becoming Adam myself, it is my great pleasure to cohabit as one of them. Verse 32, right now, listen to me, sleepy children, one simple thing. Guard my instruction, observe my way. 33, believe what you hear and do accordingly. Wisdom will not abandon you. Don't you contradict its regulation. Control yourself. Don't be disorderly. It's not confusing. You can't buy your way out. There are repercussions of your own actions. What about the blood of Jesus? Doesn't that buy us out? That's a dilemma right there. Verse 34, any man who would be blessed, be a praiseworthy man, will hear me with industrious diligence as a primary task, your first order preoccupation. I empower the weak, I lift up the poor. Daily, constantly, consistently, without fail, I ensure the doorposts to never move. Solid, absolute, steadfast. Trust me, count on this. Invest yourself here. What did I say? What did I mean? Start here. Words. See, hear, understand. Observe the writing. It's the portal of life. Learning words is the birth canal. Verse 35. Yes, I found life. It's crazy. Seriously, this is the place. Obtain, achieve, produce. I delight, I volunteer. Wish, will, desire. Anybody want this? 36. My sin, my willful intentional opposition is violence against my own soul. And this part is my own pondering. How could I be so ignorant, so blind, so deceived, so stupid, so wrong? What have I been listening to? What did I see that I should disparage the voice of wisdom, chachma? Back to what it says. All who change, who deny, who distort my declaration, my voice, loves death, gives himself death. Chapter 9, verse 1 of Proverbs. Wisdom has built her house, has hewn stones, 7 pillars, standing columns, placed, established for valuation, from which to draw water. The thing sought for, that which is required, the shavah, the sevenfold sworn vow, uncovered. Then chapter 9, verse 2, almost sounds like a Pesach Seder meal. Her slaughtering, meat killed for food. Her cocktail, wine mixed with spices and honey. Also her characteristically prepared or ordered her table. And that word for prepared and ordered is erika, ayin resh kaf hey. The word for table is shulchan, shin lamed chet nun, shul shalachen. The shin lamed chet means stripped bare and sent away. It's almost like Hagar, taken advantage of and cast out, used and discarded. But lamed chet nun, see, shin can be a prefix. Lamed chet nun means to sing, compose a melody, It's a wench or a concubine, like the Hagar. There's association in the words. But see, to sing or compose or melody is also ayin nun hey, which means to burden yourself, making this your occupation of response. If you look at the word shulchan also in the dictionary, it means a money changer's table. Well, remember that parable, not a parable, it's a story of history where Yeshua went in, I think it happened twice. He went into the temple and said, this is supposed to be a house of prayer. You've turned it into a den of thieves, and turned over the table, threw money across the room, and they're all scrambling, hey, this is mine, no, there's, and people, oh gosh, the madness. Money changer's table, where you take this and turn it into that. You get shekels, you turn it into pounds, or you stick it into Deutschmarks, or you stick it into dollars or yen, and it's like everybody, the stock market, everybody's getting everything they can from everybody else. It's like she's prepared her table. Shin Lamed Chet, divorced, sent away. Shin and Lamed can both be prefixes. Chet Nun, Chen. Well, that's where you get the word for grace. She is ordered that which is her grace. What's grace? Chet Nun, you look it up in the dictionary, it means, it's where the word Khan, Khan, like Genghis Khan, comes from. The warlord. The one who has the encampment that offers protection, that offers food and drink and a place to spend the night where you don't have to worry about being raided by other banditos. Provisions offered, not that you've earned. Mercy. Compassion. Chaneni is the word, chet nun nun is daisy, coquette, graceful. She is ordered. I could say, if you're counting on God's grace, if you're counting on the Chen of Yahuwah, you better learn the protocols by which it can be enjoyed, appreciated, received. Come one, come all. Yes, there is that offer of life, but the benefit of looking back at the Mishkan pattern is that you realize everything is regimented, everything is set up. And so when it talks about the 7 pillars, the 7, I got to find where I wrote it here for it. What is that? Wisdom has established her house, hewn out 7 pillars. How do you carve a pillar? What comes to my mind is Petra. See, if you look at the Parthenon, they go to a mine, they get a big chunk of wood, they carve it, and they bring it over and they set it up. But if you go to Petra in Jordan, there's the face of a cliff, and they've carved the pillars into the cliff. But the interesting thing, there's something about this word hewn stone used in this verse, which also means to draw water. So a pillar is something solid. An amphora or a bucket is something you draw water with. So it's playing with different concepts. What 7 pillars can you draw water with because they're hewn from the stone? And then if you think about, well, why is this number 7? Well, the word number 7 is Shin Bet Ayin, which means to swear a vow. So also in Scripture, we'll see there's 7 pillars here, 7 eyes on one stone. There was a lamb with 7 eyes. Talks about 7 scrolls in the book of Revelation. There's 7 thunders or voices, which John was going to write down, and he said, don't write these down. It's like, why not? Come on, tell us what it is. 7 voices. I'm suggesting the 7 voices are these 7 things. 7 spirits of Elohim? Which one's the Holy Spirit? Well, the spirits are the spirit of wisdom, the spirit of truth. What if it's our understanding that needs to be adjusted, that they're all the same 7 things? What are the 7 things? Well, there's 7 Moedim. There's 7 pieces of the Mishkan pattern. There's these 7 factor voices which set up the meaning of the whole alphabet. The 7 days of creation. So to see the Mishkan pattern as the first 7 letters, Aleph through Zion, as being one voice, and then the letters Het through Zadi, though there's 11 letters, it's a fractal pattern of the same 7 voices, 7 things, and that there's 7 vows. So again, just to reiterate, So if you're out in the darkness, like the Zion, out the weapon, remember what Pilate said to Yeshua when he was sitting there mocking him with the Roman weapons, whipping him, crown of thorns? What is truth? What is truth? What is truth? Ma ha-emet. What is truth? Am I right about this stuff? Or should you look elsewhere? Should you go read other sacred books? Should you go to other lands and say, who can go there and bring it back for us? Because maybe it's up in the heavens. Maybe somebody should go up there to the heavens and bring it down. Some avatar, some emissary, some space alien with some sacred writing. But what does it say in Deuteronomy 29:28? Don't ask if it's up in the heavens, who can bring it down. If it's on the other side of the world, across the sea, who can go get it? It's in the Torah. It's in your mouth. He gave us the Torah for us and our generations, our children after us, to do these things. So the big white fence, the Garden of Eden of pleasant delight, doing the law. Choose life. There's the fence. Keep choosing. Never quit choosing. You feel despaired? Choose life. Feel like killing yourself? Choose life. Feel like it's all stupid bunch of bunk? Choose life. Keep choosing life. What I'm saying is that there's a powerful sprout of vitality every time we're faced with the weapon of discouragement, of despair, of depression, of enemies, of violence, of news reports, of disease, of thievery, and that humans can choose life. The act of choosing life is its own event. In spite of all the forces that are coming upon us from without or within, he's given humans choose life. And somehow that's a seizing, not just a, yeah, I want to choose, I hope to choose. Seize hold of life. There's something about that action which is its own protocol of life, of healing, of survival. And it's like sometimes I might feel so self-loathing, self-deprecating that it's like, I don't deserve to choose life. Choose life. Right inside the gate. Not 10 feet back, right at the gate of choosing life. The barbecue grill, his truth, his words are true. You can believe them. You can trust the words. Learn the Torah. With your efforts, as a human being with volitional effort can be applied in a direction determined to understand what he said. Determined to believe. Yeah, but what if it's wrong? What if it's not this? Determined to be the believer who agrees with the Torah as written. The 22 letters. If you can't believe your translation, learn the 22 letters. It can't vary. Every word spelled with the 22 letters then is translated into English, but the whole benefit of the pictographic Paleo-Hebrew is that the letters speak for themselves, and the pattern holds consistently. You learn the letters, you learn the pattern. There it is. The truth. The laver. Be ravaged, my heart. It's the self in the mirror, the laver built with the mirrors of the women, the bronze mirrors. Be made new, foster to birth. Industrious, diligent. Shin Kuf Dalet. Chet, Resh, Zadi. The place of our continuing efforts to nurture the seed. We are the baby born in the embryo of this flesh, basar. We're the seed, the pupil of the ion within the seed within the fruit. The attitude that we nurture the seed of life because we chose life and he gave us his Torah within our hearts will become unto eternity, who we nurture ourselves to become. So as a pregnant woman bears a child, the earth person bears the eternal self into the next dimension. Like a picture, after the laver, there's the tented, covered place, menorah, table, showbread, altar of incense. The menorah, like an almond tree, shinkuf dalet, industrious, diligent, so grow where you're planted, not running about frantically, what do you want me to do? How do I do it? Bear fruit, right where you're planted. Bear light, be the menorah. Table of showbread, like the balanced scales of justice. The fruit, the ayin lining up with the table of showbread, the samek lining up with the menorah. Yom Teruah, the menorah. The ayin, this fruit has seed, and understand it will return upon you. Whatever you do, whatever you say, whatever you have in your heart, whatever attitudes, it will return upon you. The altar of incense, the letter Pei, Sukkot, Tav Het Nun He, supplication for favor, pure of heart. Yahweh, help me. Cleanse me. Restore me. Please unplant the weeds I put in my garden. Tav Het Nun He, Het Nun, Chen, grace, his grace, encamped at station. Encamped is the pure of heart, right in front of the veil where we know he's abiding there, but we just can't see. He's given us a certain blindness, a certain ignorance, a certain frailty, and to hold on with hope, with expectation, is part of the human struggle. Each one of these words that we see are intentionally part of the human, being human on the face of the earth. The Ark of the Covenant set before us, as it says there, we talked about a couple weeks ago, Yahweh commands the blessing, Chaim et Olam, live forever. He who invented life imparts life. It's at his discretion, according to his standards. And he's just asking for someone to treasure what he treasures. He so treasured wisdom, he took it upon as his own. Think of what this means. These are the these are the 7 pieces of the Mishkan I just went through. The 7 vows, the 7 pillars, the 7 eyes. These are them. This is wisdom. Choose life. Learn how to read his Torah and his words. Tend it in your heart. To be his people and just do what he says. Samek. The fruit you bear has a potent seed. It's not a GMO without seeds, with a distorted genetic. His pure DNA is within his Moedim, is within his letters, is within his Torah. Micah 6:8. He told you, O man, what is good and what Elohim requires of you. Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with Elohim. Samek ayin pei. Do justice. Be the menorah. Bear the fruit of Yom Teruah, sound, rejoicing, battle cry of victory, the light of truth. Galatians 5:22, the fruits of the Spirit. Love mercy, the ayin. If you love mercy, mercy will come back. Blessed are the merciful, they shall receive mercy. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Forgive the stupidity, the idiocy, the blindness and ignorance of each other. And when something terrible happens, have a heart of forgiveness. There's still a demand of justice. I've heard people say that when there was an evil one coming upon them, that they wanted to get a reprisal. Yahweh says, hey, vengeance is mine. Nobody gets away with anything. Just let me do it. Don't you put your hand toward the reprisal, the revenge. Remember years ago, My neighbor, a friend of mine, had a bumper sticker. I love to get even. I love to get even. I heart to get even. And he was the kind of guy that, he'll figure out a way to come back and make you pay badly. But all of a sudden, I remember, this is 50 years ago, I remember seeing that differently. And it's like, how do you get even? Oh man, I'll do this and I'll do it. How do you get even? Love. Because if you love the enemy, if they reject it, it's coming back on you. I've heard that said. But he said to do this. He said, love your enemies. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. If you love, that's your way of getting even. It changes the world. Gosh. How do you find reprisal for evil and harm? By loving. It makes you a whole different person of a whole different kingdom. I love to get even. Where do you put the comma? Okay, we're at the end of time here. The whole point of this is that we can say, well, wisdom is this gold, wisdom is love, wisdom is understanding, but what is that? It's still obscure. In pondering through all this, it's the thing we've been studying. To understand the meaning of his language, to understand that there's a pattern, it's also another voice of it is in the stars. That it's Elohim, it's Yahweh himself. Any other voice is an Elohim Achim, it's not him. And if we're deceived, what is truth? What did he say? How does it fit this pattern? That becomes our challenge. That becomes our effort to say, how do I stay on the path? But there is a path. It's not random gray tones like the background I had the other weeks, which was part of the struggle. But here the gold is, there's a path of truth and life. And so when somebody says, hey, did away with those festivals, that's a different voice. He changed the Sabbath day. No, he didn't. That's a different voice. It doesn't matter what you call him. He has a bunch of names. That's not his voice. And I could go on. The covenant was done away with and we have a new covenant. That's not his voice. The burden upon me as an individual is to listen to his voice, determine his voice, hear his voice, and then be able to distinguish his voice from any other. So when I'm asked, yeah, but what if you're wrong? Oops, what if I'm wrong? Oh no, I've got hell to pay. I might miss the boat. I might end up in the lake of fire rather than on the little ship of dreams. Playing off of a song by Heart. Well, by this extent of analysis, I've determined that this is the truth I'm going to bank on. And, Mark was saying the other day, I'm saying this, I'm doing all this because I want everybody to believe me and follow me and trust me. And no, I'm not. I don't think I'm doing that. I think I'm doing this because Kurt asked me to do this every week. And it's been a couple of years now. I think the only reason I'm doing this is because I appreciate the venue of saying, it forces me to put this study into words, easily accessible. And if anybody else finds them valuable, then here they're yours. Find them valuable and do what you will. I don't care if anybody believes me, follows me, trusts me, understands me. And if somebody says, will you please make it more understandable? Then, okay, I'll do that as an answer to a request. I'm not hoping and give me. No, I'm not asking for anybody to give me anything. And I feel shame on me if I do. I would be ashamed at thinking that what Mark suggested the other day was what I'm really doing. Not that he intended it as an insult, but I felt insulted, just so you know. I'm not insulted by him, insulted of myself if that's who I am, if that's what I'm doing. I don't think that's what I'm doing. I think I'm saying, look, I found gold. Here, does anybody want some of this gold? And I'm trying to determine exactly when it says gold and pure gold, that pure gold is a refined, just the best. And you could say, well, there's some gold there. There's a gold nugget. There's, here in Sonora, California, there's a winery. Somebody had found a piece of gold, just real quick. As I understand the story, this was the gold rush part of the country in the 1850s, 1860s or so. And there was one particular gold mine about to shut down. They thought they've tapped it out. And there was a conveyor belt, and processing ore. And all of a sudden, part of the ceiling collapsed. And boom, this thing fell down. It was a special piece of gold. I think it's called like crepe gold. And it was like about 3 feet long. I don't know how they salvaged it, but it's hanging up in a vault. And if you go to this winery, you can stand there and look at it. And it's like over by Murphy's in California. It's like, that fell from the ceiling. That thing's worth millions of dollars. Well, it's worth more to stand there and look at it. You can't do anything worth millions of dollars. You're going to break off a chunk and say, well, now what do I do with it? I got a chunk of that thing. Well, now you've diminished that, and you can do nothing with this. But the value of this gold is appropriate application for life, wisdom, understanding, and success, victory. And like it said in the very beginning, protecting over us, shining the way. This is the Derek, Yashar Derek of Yahuwah. Life forever is these matters. Wow. Thank you, Yahweh. Back to you. You're on. You guys got it. What do you, if you want to say anything? Go ahead. We've got, what, a minute and a half? Anybody want to say anything?
I would like to pray. Or somebody else would.
Mark, your microphone's going off and on. Does that mean you want to pray? Go ahead. Have at it.
It was pray, end with prayer? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time that we spent together in your word, Father. Every time, according to scripture, every time we read your word, we're blessed. So I thank you, Father, for blessing us with Eric's wisdom and knowledge that he's received from you. And I hope that through all of this, everyone that's listening here today will be able to apply whatever it is that they've learned today, the message that they've learned today, into their daily lives, because walking in obedience to the Father's words is, as Eric was saying, it's so beautiful, so pleasurable that people need to actually do it to experience it. So Father, I ask that through your infinite grace and mercy that everyone that was here today actually puts it into place in their daily lives. Amen.